Okay, so what we learned how to do last week, again, was to deconstruct this form, not just draw the side profile, but to begin to think about the shapes and the planes inside of the human head. So we did just that. We looked at Derrick Adams' artwork, and he was just a phenomenal artist in creating these portraits of African American people. So that's what we did first. This is just an example of that, remember? Here we use simple shapes on the inside of this female figure. We drew that together. And I said you had options. Once you've drawn the shapes in, you're going to go ahead and color them in. So this is an example that is not completed yet, but you can see that I've used some colored pencil in here, and I tried to keep the colored pencil tones and palette to earth tones. And remember, we talked a little bit about earth tones last week. Earth tones are the colors that you see in nature. So they can range from almost green or olive to browns. And there are lots and lots of different kinds of colors that fall into the term earth tone. So this is what that looked like. So I said you had the option last week, you have the option this week to actually color those in with just colored pencil. But remember that Derrick Adams actually was collaging large parts of his pictures as well. Some of his pictures are just collage. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go to the next one. If you just use colored pencil on yours, that's absolutely fine. I think it will look fantastic when you start showing it. But what we did from there was we actually used some colored paper. Now, Derrick Adams, as you remember, used all of these decorative colored papers. He used fake wood texture. He actually used wood texture. There were so many different kinds of paper that he used. You might not have the access to all of the paper that he does, but what I had access to was at least some colored paper, and I actually did that. So this is the exact same model or drawing reproduced on manila paper, and here I've actually used marker and colored pencil together and created this portrait. I just wanted you to see that, okay? I see Ayede, you want to go ahead and ask a question? Yes. Oh, thank you very much. Um, we learned a lot from Derrick Adams, at least I hope we did, in composing a portrait. And I wanted you to see that. The portrait that we're going to look at for this class and the pictures that we're going to look at for this class, I think are going to blow you away. This is an example of the picture that we're going to look at for today. Someone else has a question? Yes. Oh, here and here? Here and here I actually used two different colors. So I used a lighter color underneath. The lighter color was close to this tag color, so it was like a light brown. Okay? If you don't have a light brown, you could use a yellow or a sienna color. Sienna is almost like sand color. Okay? And then I used a darker color on top. I remember when we looked at Derrick Adams' artwork, he was using all these different textures. Let me go ahead and show you that one more time so you can see his artwork and so you can remember what his looked like, okay? Okay. So you remember that he sometimes used these textures. He used it in the hair at times. He used it on the figure itself. So I really wanted to try and reproduce those things. I think they're really beautiful when you do that. These are mainly paintings, and as you can see, the clothing actually has the collage part. So it looks like he's actually using some fabric material down here on this one. Sequins, that's really nice. You see that? Looks like there's a little foil here for the earring on this figure itself. Again, look at how that's a really fantastic decorative design for the clothing, as you can see, and of course for the eyeglasses. Yes. Can you see me? Yes. This one here? Okay, or this one? Okay, yeah, I can send that really quick. Give me a second. I will put it in the chat, okay? Just give me a second. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And if you need some time today to actually finish that up, that's great. You can have some time to finish that up. Just remember the process of actually creating this and then creating the collage for it. I think that was really important for you to remember the process of it, all right? It's not hard, but we definitely want to make sure that we finish it. So let me go ahead and grab that picture really quickly. Anytime you need to see these pictures, they are posted on Wakelet, and we have access to it through our class notebook in Teams. So if you have a problem with any of the artwork and you would love to see the artwork from class, just remember where it is, okay? So go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and send that now. Could take a while for it to come through. All right, by show of hands, sisters, can you raise your hand if you are done with your collage portrait? Just raise your hand. So Yade, excellent. Who else is done? So everybody else is still working. Misha, I cannot see you. Can you turn on your camera? That would be great. Misha, are you done with your art activity? Your drawing? I can't. Speak a little louder. I can't hear you. Not yet. Okay. How about we give you all a few minutes to actually work a little bit more on it, okay? That might be a little bit more effective use of our time and energy. So we'll take a little bit of, maybe you get about 10, 15 minutes, because again, like I said, sometimes if you're working at home and you're doing all of these web-based classes, it can be difficult to set a time apart to do this art. So we definitely can do it during art class. I also want to make sure that we get to our next lesson. So I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of time, but let's go ahead and do that. If anybody has any questions about the working progress or working process to do the actual collage part, I will go over that while everybody's working. So Ayade, if you want, you can look at that. Ayade, you have a question? Okay. Okay. Ayade, did you add some collage to your picture? Mm-hmm. What did you? Okay. Excellent. Very good. Now, do me a favor, hold it back from the camera just a little bit. Hold it back a little bit so I can see it better. Excellent. What I want you to do on your picture, if you have a strong marker, do you have a marker, a black marker? No. Do you have... I would rather you use a marker if you have it. Do you have a marker? Either a Sharpie marker like this, yeah, can you go and look for that? Mimi, can I see your drawing? Very good as well. Beautiful design. Did you color in the hair? Okay, good. Take your time. do not rush, because it looks like you, when I look at your drawing and Ayade's drawing, I can tell both of you put some time in. You were very neat, and your draft womanship is really good. That means you were very careful about putting in little details, and your paper looks neat. I will say, Ayade, in the future, can you please not fold your paper? Okay, because it does sometimes distract from if the actual image. All right, so try and keep your paper nice and flat wherever it is. Often what I will do, Ayade, is I will just take another sheet of paper and just fold it, especially if it's a little bit bigger, just to make a folder or a portfolio, and I'll just put that paper inside of it and then store it somewhere else. And I think that's a better use of your time and energy. Because think about all the time and energy you put into creating your artwork. Definitely want to honor that by protecting your work, okay? Okay, great. All right, so now that you all are still working, I will go over this, the collage part of this, okay? And then we'll continue, all right? So let me go ahead and go over the collage part. If you want to follow the collage part, that's great. I do think all of us could actually add at least one part of collage to our picture. Maybe you don't want the collage in the face because you spent a lot of time on that, right? So that would be absolutely okay if you don't want the collage in the face. I can see that. But maybe we use collage for the clothes, okay? That would be important. And we don't, none of us have a large portion at the bottom of our paper. You can see here, Derrick Adams essentially has um, a huge portrait, relatively speaking. It's larger than ours, right? It's not full body, but it does go up to about the rib cage here and covers part of the arm and upper body. And so he has a lot more space in terms of putting together a collage for the body there. So what we're going to do is we want to actually at least cover from the neck to the top of the shoulders with a collage. If you want an accent piece as well, Ayade and Mimi, you can add that too. Accent pieces actually add interest to your picture. So it's a part of embellishing your artwork, which is a really important part of taking your artwork the step further. For you can see for Derrick Adams' artwork, he used embellishment in the eyes. You see that here where he has added foil to the eyeglasses, and he's also embellished the clothing by actually using a texture that looks like it could be real, a real actual fabric texture. So we're going to embellish ours as well. Here, I'm going to show you how to do that one more time. Remember, you should have two copies of your artwork. I have that copy, you remember, that we drew last week. I kept that copy because I was using that copy to actually use as a stencil so I can cut out shapes. If you don't have a copy, that's not a problem. What you're going to do is just take a piece of paper, and it should be a very thin piece of copy paper or whatever paper you have handy, and you're going to just put it over top of your image, okay? Now, if your image is on white paper, you'll be able to see it better, okay? And you're just going to trace whatever section it is that you want to actually create a collage with. So for instance here, if I wanted to create a section for the shoulders, I'm going to hold this up a little bit closer so you can see it. If you can see in the camera right through the paper, you see that? And you can see all of my shapes because the paper on top is really lightweight, maybe 20-pound copy paper, the kind of paper that goes in your printer. And as you can see, I can almost see this dark line here. I can't see it really well, so I'm actually going to lift that paper off, and I'm going to redraw that line or restate that line here, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker so that I can see what I'm doing. And again, remember, we're only going to be creating a collage for that section. Now, as you can see it much better. You see that? Now that we can see that better, Ayade and Mimi, we want to make sure that we go ahead and create the neckline for the shirt and also trace the front of the body and the back of the neck, or the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make sure your paper doesn't move. I want a neckline. You can go ahead and be creative here. Maybe you want a V neck, in which case you can see you draw it like that and then come this way. And then of course a neckline this way and that way. So now I have a neckline shape that I can actually cut out, and you can do that with any part of your picture. So if you, for instance, you wanted to have maybe an earring on, now you know where the earring goes. Ayada, are you listening? I mean, are you listening? Okay, good. Now you know where the earring goes, so you can actually trace that earring part of it. You see it? If you wanted to have some kind of head wrap or even a crown, that would be fun too, right? To put a little crown on her head. Now you know exactly the shape in which the crown should be, because you can see through and you can see where to go over for the ear and where the back of the head is. So if I want a little crown for her, and I think I want to add to my picture, so I'm going to add a little bit of a crown too. I'm going to put a little crown just like this. Maybe we do a crown that looks like that. Play around with it, you can be creative. Okay, so now I have two shapes that I can create a stencil for. Of course I don't want it on white paper, so you have two options here too. The first option is to cut this out, which would be the best, then grab some colored paper and then trace this as a stencil onto that colored paper. The second option is to actually color the paper here and then cut it out and glue it directly to your image. I think the colored paper option is a lot better because it gives you the option to use paper that you might not be able to find a colored pencil for or a marker for. So just keep that in mind. So here I'm going to cut this part out here, and if you have specialty colored paper, you may want to use that now as well. Here it is, and as you can see, this is going to become my stencil now, and as you can see, it fits right there. And remember, it's a V-neck, so it doesn't cover that portion of her neck. And so again, I can use this on a colored paper now and then actually come up with a better design, for a more interesting design for the clothing. Again, so can you both of you work on that part right there? Just add a collage part of it. Again, it could be glasses, it could be an earring, it could be heck, it could be a flower for the hair if you wanted to. If you're really creative, you can think of ways to do that. Ayade, I see you have just a little bit of a, it looks like you have on a headband right now, yes? In the camera? Yes. Do you have on a headband? Okay. Okay, great. That would be perfect. That's perfect. Okay. And so you already have the headband on, head wrap on her right now? Okay, great. Okay, so then add another part right down here for her shirt or whatever she's wearing there, okay? And this time make it a little decorative. I'll give you all 10 minutes to do that, and then we will continue.